There's a reason that each version of the Apple iPhone is the best selling smartphone in the world. Apple makes things simple and makes small but noticeable improvements, so each version is better than the last. I'm Andrew with MobileBurn.com, here to see if Apple keeps its improvement streak going with the iPhone 5S. The iPhone 5S has a lot going for it. The phone is. Oh, wait a minute. That's not the iPhone 5S. That's the iPhone 5. You can forgive me for being momentarily confused, especially since Apple has followed the S phone blueprint. It replicated the previous device and made minor modifications. The 5S has the same design, shape, screen, and weight of the previous version. It feels dainty because it weighs so little, and it has a solid aluminum body that feels wonderful and will probably be scuffed to high hell if you're clumsy. The only noticeable external changes are the colors, a new home button with a built-in fingerprint sensor, and a change in the flash for an 8-megapixel camera. The fingerprint sensor, Touch ID, has already been proven to be less than perfect security, but is very useful for someone who tires of constantly entering a PIN code or iTunes password. Users can program the phone to recognize their finger on the sensor and gain faster access to the device in an instant. It's one of the smallest changes of the iPhone 5S, but it's also one of my favorites. Otherwise, the iPhone 5S is just as you remembered. It has volume buttons on the left, as well as a Do Not Disturb switch, which mutes device audio and ringers. The dual speakers at the bottom reach a very good pitch, but the sound can easily be blocked if your hand is placed over them. That's because of the placement. The repetition unfortunately means that we're also seeing the same screen. The iPhone 5S has a 4-inch display with an 1136 by 640 resolution. The display itself is very good thanks to high levels of brightness and balanced saturation, as well as clarity provided by the Retina display. Now, the quality of the screen is fantastic, but when compared in small screen size to the 5-inch plus displays that you're getting elsewhere, it's kind of disappointing in some regards to have to deal with something so small. The internal specs of the iPhone 5S are different. Apple upgraded the A7 processor and GPU to better support 64-bit architecture of iOS. Now, that doesn't mean anything to you right now, but in the future it will. At the moment, the A7 supports faster performance in the browser, the camera, and other apps, especially in gaming. iOS has a very healthy gaming system and plenty of premium choices to take advantage of the hardware advancements. You probably won't notice the quantified gains that Apple touts, but the 5S has a little bit more kick in its step. And while we're on the subject of software, iOS 7 is a dramatic turn from previous iterations. The outdated use of bevels and textures meant to replicate real-world use cases, they've all been replaced with a flat appearance with very thin icons. The home screen is far more colorful than before and looks more modern. With specific apps, users will notice improvements not only for a better appearance, but also for easier navigation. For one thing, iOS finally has a control center to provide instant access to frequent settings and controls for music or brightness. It's long overdue and it's a welcome addition. And the same can be said for the changes to the notification window. Users can now see a preview of calendar appointments as well as group notifications from apps or missed calls and messages. The user has complete control over which are allowed to appear in this section, but unfortunately it's kind of limited at the moment in the Today section. Only Apple's calendar and approved apps will appear there, so it'd be nice to see some third-party apps gain access as well. Overall, iOS 7 is a remarkable improvement visually, even though its Skittles-like take on flat design is a little too bright and pencil-thin at times. iOS badly needed a new look, and the results are good for the most part. There are still some areas of frustration, such as iTunes Radio not responding to Control Center commands, and Apple still blocking the setting of default apps. I've also noticed more frequent app crashes and phone restarts than I've ever experienced with any iOS device, without any clue as to what's causing them. Furthermore, the sharing options and inter-app communication on iOS still rank the worst among all of the major platforms. Despite the addition of AirDrop, a clever way to wirelessly share files from one iOS device to another, users still can't easily and reliably share information from one app to another unless the developer is nice enough to add that feature. It's not included at the system level, and it doesn't work with Apple-made apps. iOS 7 faults aside, the iPhone 5S is a very good phone. The camera is as fast as most other devices, and arguably better when it comes to quality. The new multitasking is reminiscent of WebOS, and much better than the old version of iOS. Now, the latest version of Siri is also a step in the right direction to enhance the software. You can now do things like play music or change settings using just your voice, which is definitely an improvement. And that's a recurring theme with the iPhone 5S, improving on an already good product. Still, the 5S feels like a work in progress at times. There are no advancements in battery life, and arguably it takes a step back in that direction. And Apple still needs to plug a few holes in iOS 7. But with a healthy ecosystem and doing more things right than it does wrong, overwhelmingly so, the iPhone 5S is easily one of the best phones on the market. Be sure to follow the link in the description below to see photo and video samples and determine if it's also the best phone for you. I'm Andrew with MobileBurn.com reviewing the iPhone 5S. Thanks for watching. Until next time.